What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
There was some prep I'd need to wrap up before then, but before that, I had one errand to attend to. Shion was on standby outside my chamber, so I took her along with me to visit Shuna. Shuna was overseeing dinner preparations when we saw her, giving out instructions to her staff. There were more people in the kitchen now, the air alive with conversation between an assortment of species. The skill Shuna demonstrated by organizing them all showed her strength as a leader. I hated to interrupt her for my personal business, but we were battling against time here, so she'd have to forgive me.
Hey, Shuna, got a moment?
Oh, Sir Rimuru, by all means, tell me what you need.
Shuna ran up to me when I called out to her. In this noisy kitchen, everyone was always kind enough to let me sample their dishes when I stopped by now and then. I tried to offer a quick comment for everything I tasted, but I was in a rush, so our impromptu tasting had to wait.
Sorry, guys, but I need Shuna's help with something today. I'll be able to take my time in here next time, okay?
Certainly.
Stop by whenever.
Wait till you see what we've been working on now.
The enthusiasm was palpable. I guess me complimenting someone on their food was a kind of status symbol around here. Next time ought to be real fun.
Okay, go Bichi, can you run things for a while?
Yes, Lady Shuna, ready and able.
Gobichi was second only to Shuna in cookery by now. He was the head chef whenever Shuna was gone, so we were in good hands.
Right, see you later,
I said, waving at the disappointed kitchen staff. We were on our way to floor 60, Adelman's lair.
Oh, thanks for that sandwich, by the way. It was good.
Shuna smiled as we walked along.
I'm so glad you liked it.
Allow me to make a box lunch for you next time, Sir Rimuru.
Shion was quick to volunteer. I considered my options before replying.
Yeah, you're certainly improving by leaps and bounds. Could you maybe work with Shuna on one sometime?
I thought I was safe trusting Shion by this point, but a little insurance never hurt. Shuna's presence should keep Shion from going crazy in the kitchen.
Perhaps tomorrow then, Lady Shuna?
Alright, Shion, let's begin with something simple first.
It was a pleasant exchange. Their musical performance had been in perfect sync too, actually. I'm glad they were getting along. So we chatted along those lines as we reached the 60th floor.
Adelman, I'm coming in.
Ah, it's you, Sir Rimuru. Truly, recent events have filled me with anguish. I am fully prepared to accept any punishment you deem fit for my inferior self.
He immediately fell to his knees when I said his name. His penchant for exaggeration was as healthy as always, but I was used to it by now.
Nah, as far as that goes, it's our fault for misreading this. You're not a good fit for combat against paladins. I don't think you could have avoided that defeat.
No, even now, I lament just how spiritless I was in battle. Losing to such inexperienced fighters. I approached the battle as if I were still a White King, but I lost after my magic failed to trigger.
Right now, Adelman was nothing more than a powerless white. A white with some pretty advanced magic knowledge and battle experience, sure, but species-wise, he was just a low-level monster. There wasn't much magic he could fully harness, and the only creatures he could summon were equally low-level undead. Monsters had the capacity to evolve via the magicules in the labyrinth, but that took time. Adelman's minions wouldn't be evolving for a while to come, but what I was about to do would help him power up much more quickly.
One of the most important things you can do is know the extent of your powers. Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yes, anything.
How much holy magic can you wield at the moment?
Holy magic was, in essence, force stemming from faith. You didn't need to gather up magicules from the atmosphere, and it wasn't affected by the magic strength within you. If you had the right knowledge and enough spell casting time, you could weave powerful magic without exerting a great deal of energy. What it did require, though, was a pact forged with a god. A god, for the purposes of this kind of magic, was an existence who could wield the spiritual particles that were the building blocks for magicules. It wasn't dependent on the caster believing in this or that god, or some other divine concept in this world. A god was just anyone who could directly interact with spiritual particles. In Luminism, for example, Luminous was a god for this reason. Adelman was a devout Luminist, and becoming a monster hadn't shaken his faith at all. That's why he could cast disintegration as a White King, I suppose. Now, however, he was worshipping me as a god instead of Luminous, and we couldn't forge a pact of faith with each other. I figured holy magic was thus out of the question, maybe.
These days, not very much, I am afraid. Even lower-ranked magic is inaccessible to me.
I thought so. Holy magic, in essence, worked the same way as spirit magic. A pact was involved, and you were borrowing force from a higher power to cast your spells. Not even Hinata could cast holy magic without borrowing Luminous' powers. If the human race didn't align itself with a god like Luminous, they'd lose access to one of the most effective ways to handle monsters. It'd be ironic if it weren't so scary to think about. If Luminous's whims had driven her to go in a different direction, the world might have wound up far more chaotic than it already was.
Alright, so let me ask you, Shuna. How much holy magic can you use? And what's your faith pointed at?
In my case, it is not exactly holy magic. It is an imitation, powered by my unique skill parser, and it works surprisingly well.
Ah, I see. An imitation? I did leave her to analyze the barrier over our town, come to think of it. Maybe that let her copy a subset of holy magic as a side effect. And in addition to that,
My faith is in you, Sir Rimuru, and there's no doubting the power that brings me. That's why I think I might be able to do this.
Shuna gave me a somewhat bashful smile.
Huh? But when you fought me, didn't you say that even monsters could use holy magic?
I was bluffing.
Shuna replied, still smiling.
It was a bluff I was quite sure of, but you wound up proving it for me, Sir Rimuru.
Adelman gave us a quizzical look. It was surprising how much variety there was to his facial expressions, being a skeleton and all. But regardless, the most important element to executing holy magic was faith. Faith was intertwined with connections in the soul, and it might be that Shuna inadvertently grasped this at the deepest level. If that was the case, I just needed to present my theory and have Adelman learn it. He should know how it feels, so I didn't think it'd be that hard.
Now, I'd like both of you to accept for me what I'll call the secret skills of faith and favor. I just learned them from Luminous not long ago, and it's strictly classified information, so keep that in mind.
As a former high priest, I figured Adelman could rediscover holy magic once he could connect with me. Even now, when his magicule count was nothing like it used to be, holy magic ought to make him a lot more useful in a fight.
The secret skills of faith and favor.
Ah, now I too shall bask in the powers of the truly divine.
He was even more stifling than usual today, but I put up with it.
Sir Rimuru, do you mind if I ask a question?
I hadn't thought about it until now, but for the first time in a while, I was being carried by Xian, in slime form, of course. I didn't want that to stop, it was comfortable, after all. This holy magic talk would fly straight over her head, I was sure, but I had to be confident she could keep it secret.
Don't tell anyone, alright?
I said to her.
Of course.
Came the energetic reply. I was happy enough with that, so I went over the basics of my plan with Shuna.
I see, so I can learn holy magic as well if I can't believe in you?
Right, I think so. It's something you can research in your free time anyway. Maybe talk about it with Adelman and stuff.
Alright, I look forward to seeing how much of it I can learn.
Shuna was picking this up fast. With her parser skill, maybe learning disintegration wasn't a pipe dream, even. As for Adelman,
Oh, I am swelling, overflowing with power.
He was pretty excited.
Holy cannon.
With a red light sparking up from deep within his eye sockets, Adelman pointed a hand forward and screamed. A concentrated ball of energy flew out from his palm, a bolt of holy cannon, a full-fledged holy spell. A powerful one, too, and one he had generated all by himself.
Oh, Sir Rimuru, my god.
He prostrated himself before me in worship. I wish he wouldn't. It kind of made my spine prickle.
Great, that worked, huh? Now keep practicing so you can start casting some higher level magic. And if something comes up, you can always turn to Shuna for advice.
I was clearly trying to hurry things along. Shuna, understanding my intentions, lightly nodded.
Ah, so you want me to be his advisor since you disliked dealing with him yourself?
I heard that question loud and clear, but pretending I didn't was probably the best move here. If she could just assume I'm an insensitive clod who doesn't understand anything for myself, that'd be great.
I promise I will live up to your lofty expectations, Sir Rimuru.
Adelman, meanwhile, was energized like never before. I decided now was a good time to give him another important piece of advice.
Now, as a white, if you cast a holy spell, doesn't that damage you?
There were two types of holy magic, one neutral type that worked with spiritual particles, and another the holy type that cancelled out magicules. Holy cannon was the latter type, and as a monster, I figured that would cause him damage.
A little pain is nothing that would faze me.
Adelman's just soldiering through it. But that doesn't really solve the problem. I could tap Beretta's Reverser unique skill to flip the holy attribute around to demonic, but that's another future research topic. For the time being,
Then how about this, Adelman?
still enveloped in Xian's chest, I sent a beam of light into the air.
Oh,
I removed the holy attribute and powered it up a bit. It's called Holy Ray, and it's my own creation.
Holy Ray is a neutral attack, neither holy nor demonic in nature. As long as you didn't screw it up, it would never damage the caster. However, it was a trickier spell to cast, in other words, it required the user to have more faith in me. It was meant for a single target, and in terms of spontaneous force, it was better than my Megiddo spell. It launched quickly and emitted a bright light, but it was actually a long string of concentrated, spinning spiritual particles. As a piercing attack, it wasn't as powerful as disintegration, but took much less time to cast.
wonderful. Truly a wonderful spell.
Adelman was beside himself with joy. If he could master this spell, it might help him get used to manipulating spiritual particles in general. Then he'd be able to launch bigger beams with tons more lethality. This was one of the spells Raphael developed based on my requests, and for Adelman at the moment, this was the most ideal weapon I could give him.
I'll be glad to discuss magic with you at any time, so don't be afraid to contact me.
Shuna had already kindly accepted my request. That was, to say the least, a relief.
Alright, keep up your training, then, and try your best to learn holy magic that won't damage you.
I wanted that to be a focus. It would complicate fighting otherwise. Raising a hand to quiet down the jubilant Adelman, I then tackled our next problem.
So right now, you don't have too many ways to attack. We can help you gradually build up an arsenal, but before that, there's something quick we can do.
How do you mean?
Well, you're more of a back row fighter by nature, right?
I would say my role more often was to provide rear support, yes. When I was a White King, I'd often use summoning magic to bring forth an army of undead, overwhelming foes with my sheer numbers.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shoutout to Rahul Subramanian, Chad Vota, Somanisan, Fennec Foxy, Rembaru, AZFR, IceB, Diasili, Kyle Fortin, and last but not the least, shoutout to Erwin Sorima. I'll see you guys in the next video.